Hey, welcome to the Boat Dealer Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Selhorst, and we are committed to helping you sell more boats, make more money, and have more fun. I appreciate you joining us on this episode. This is the boat show episode. I figured I'd talk about boat shows a little bit. I just recently did a training for my splash dealers that was 100% boat show focused. It's one of the benefits of being a splash dealer, having gone through the program using our done-for-you services, and that is a quarterly sales training program where you get access to a top-notch training program that is designed to kind of touch on whatever topic is relevant at that particular time. So it was a great training. I thought, you know what, it's something that it was really powerful. I figured I would just share a few of the highlights from that I would pass along in the podcast. There's a few things that we did on the webinar that we won't be able to see, and but I'm going to give you some mindset stuff. It's something that I find can be very impactful. Not something that a lot of folks think about much, but it's something that can have a major impact. And it's one of the other trainings that I've done for my clients as well, called Beliefs, Activities, and Skills. And we talk a lot about beliefs and mindset in that one. So here we go. As we jump in, there's three areas that I really want to focus on this particular podcast, where it's just kind of me presenting. We've got some great guests lined up on future podcasts that came from the MDCE. And if you hear some odd noises, I'm going to try to edit this down, but I'm actually driving right now as I record this. My schedule has been so busy, bringing on so many new clients, and just have so many projects going on that, you know what, I had to get the podcast in, and this is when you got to get done, you make do. And so if you hear a little bit of rattling, that is just me. So here are the three areas that I wanted to talk about. Is first the mindset of selling a boat today at the boat show. And that's a mindset that I think most people are pretty solid on, but I'm going to give you some tips and give you some strategies there that you might be able to share, or that you really should share with your sales team, with the folks that are working the boat show, whether you have additional staff you bring in, whether you have volunteers, whether you have people that normally aren't in that type of environment, whether you bring clients in to help you out, or you do what I call a gaggle of greeters, and you get some volunteer groups to help you out, do some of the blocking and tackling and doing lead generation. The second is lead generation, is having the mindset that yes, you're there at the show to sell leads, but you're also at the show to generate leads, quality leads of people that are going to be ready to buy a boat next week, next month, next year, or 5 years from now. And having the mentality of your sales staff that you can still make a successful sale even if you don't sell the actual boat, if you gather their contact information, you capture it, and you do something with it. So that's mindset number two. Mindset number three, and this is one where I see some people struggle and I see others do okay, but when I mystery shop, it seems like every boat show I go to has an opportunity that has multiple booths with the opportunity for this, and that is quantity of leads. So we've got three things really at a boat show: selling a boat today, generating a lead for somebody that's a high quality person that we've had a good conversation with, that should be or will likely be ready to buy a boat next week, next month, next year, or 5 years from now. And then the other people that attend the boat show that may not be on the educational spectrum of a boat buyer, and yet they are people that paid $8, $10, $12 for a ticket to the boat show. They spent, $10 on parking. They bought a $12 hot dog and soda for a snack, and they're spending their Saturday afternoon at the boat show looking at boats. So that tells me that we don't know if they're qualified. If you haven't had a conversation with them, but they're walking around, they're checking out the boats, they're really interested. They have an interest in the boating lifestyle, maybe not the type of boats that you carry, but those people have value. And what can you do to take advantage of that value? There's some mindsets that I've heard in the industry that's, listen, we don't have time to mess with them. We're never going to follow up with them, and we don't even, who cares? Well, I think that's a big mistake, and we'll talk about that. But let's start with the buyers selling a boat today. And this is a more of a, instead of dealership by dealership issue that I run into, this is more of a salesperson by salesperson issue that I run into. And it may not be the issue of they don't believe that buyers are there to buy, but their belief is they shouldn't push to get people to buy at the show. They shouldn't make a hard, persuasive case for people to buy at the show. Now, if you followed me, if you've read my boating industry articles, if you've listened to other podcasts, you know that I am not a hard sale kind of guy. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was a no boat selling son of a gun, my first year in the industry, I was trying to figure out selling a tangible product. I'd always been in financial services and sold kind of an intangible product, mortgages. And so it's not something that you say, hey, look at what you can get. It was more of, getting the concept across of what it could do for them. And so when it came to selling boats, I was really good at selling the lifestyle. I was really good at selling the what's it going to do for the family. But I wasn't always great at selling the actual boat and getting into presenting the boat. And what I was really poor at was asking for the sale. I had somewhat of a fear. And a matter of fact, one time I went up and talked to Jeff Hall, who was the owner of the company. Him and his brother owned the dealership before they sold to MarineMax. And I said, Jeff, what advice do you have for me? I'd gone through a season, or I'd gone through a boat show and was disappointed, and was just having a conversation with him about how things were going and what advice he had for me. And what he told me was, he said, you do a great job of following up. You're always generating leads. You've got these great systems that you're following up with people, and you really are missing the opportunity of asking for the sell and selling the boat when they're in front of you, selling the boat when they're nose to nose, toes to toes with you, and that's an area that you can really improve. And I kind of thought about it a little bit, and I thought to myself, man, I'm doing all this stuff because I don't want to be a fast-talking salesperson, and that was actually part of my pitch was, hey, I've got my no sales pressure guarantee, and I was not one that was going to push my agenda and be aggressive and be a used car salesperson. And that was a great strategy for building relationships with people. It was a great strategy for building long-term trust and building high margins with that sales approach. And yet what I discovered with that approach was I was actually doing a disservice to my prospects. And what I mean by that is doing a disservice, and this is the mindset I want you to make sure all of your salespeople have. And that is, hey, if you truly believe that you have the right boat for that prospect, you've qualified them, you've done the proper interview process, you've done the proper sales process, you've spent your time with them, and you've shown them that this is the right boat, it's the right boat, it fits within their budget or close to their budget, and they can afford it. You believe that you and your dealership are the best, and if they buy a boat from somebody else, they're making a bad decision. They're making a poor decision if they buy a boat from somebody else. Well, if that's the case, then it's actually your duty. It's your duty to ask them to buy the boat and to do everything you can, honestly and ethically, to get them to buy the boat. That means no lying, no exaggerating the truth, but just being honest and ethical, but asking. And we know in sales, if I was the first person to say this, I would be a genius, but clearly I'm not, that it takes more than one time to ask for the sale to get them to buy. Their job when they're buying especially a luxury purchase like this, your job is to ask for the sale. Their job is to say no. Your job is to ask again. Their job is to say no again. Your job is to ask again, and it can take 7 times for you to ask and actually get a yes, let's buy. That's where trial closing questions come in. That's where asking it in the right way comes in. And there's a lot of scripting that we talked about on the sales training webinar that we did. But I want to focus on the mindset. And the mindset that really changed it for me with that conversation with Jeff was, hey, I really am. If they buy a boat other than one that I offer from another dealership in our area, they're not going to have the same level of experience. They're not going to be as happy. They're not going to be trained as well on the boat. They're not going to be taken care of as well as after the sale. They're not going to get the best product. They're not going to get the overall best boating experience for them and their family if they choose to buy a boat from somebody other than me. Now, that is a belief that I was 100% rock solid confident in. And once I was 100% rock solid in that belief, well, the action was easy. The action was, well, if you spend time and you've got them to that point where you know it's the right boat, you know it's an affordable payment, or it fits within their budget, you know that everything is right about this, then it's your duty to ask them and figure out ways to ask them that are going to get them to say yes, because you know they want a boat, it fits, and it's going to be one of the best decisions they make. They're just scared. They're scared to make that decision. They don't want to commit. They don't want to be ridiculed by their friends for buying a boat, for buying the wrong boat, for buying at the right time, whatever their fear is. And even the most successful person buying a $10 million yacht has fear of making that decision. It's your job to do everything you can to make sure that fear is addressed and that they actually make the purchasing decision. So that helped me get over the fear of asking for the sale, because to me, the fear of them coming back 3 weeks later and saying, Matt, we bought from ABC dealer down the street and we got this boat because we got such a great deal on it. We saved $10,000 from the boat you had. And I know that they were a premium buyer and not a price buyer, and they had the ability, and they drove a BMW, and they lived in a nice neighborhood, and they sent the kids to private school. So it wasn't about that's the only way they could get on the water. I knew that they weren't going to have the enjoyable experience. I knew that this dealer handed them the keys and said, hey, enjoy, good luck. Once I was rock solid firm in that belief, then it was easy for me to ask multiple times. And hey, it's okay to get shut down. That's their job. But now you ask again in a little bit different way. Came up with trial closing questions that I got from several different trainers, including Tom Hopkins. Glenn Roller has some great training stuff in the industry. There were some other trainers in and outside the industry that I pulled little bits and pieces from and came up with my strategy that were, they worked, because it was very easy to ask over and over and ask trial closing questions and feel them out and just easily guide them into saying yes. And at the boat show, that's especially critical, because they will walk from your booth across the aisle to a competitor's booth. And it is so easy in that environment to make a decision based on price, based on, we got a huge discount. They had a leftover that saved us 20 grand. Well, that's great, but if that leftover isn't going to give you the same level of boating experience that you would have gotten with me, if you don't get the same level of service, if you don't get the same level of personal attention just from the salesperson, then that's a bad decision for that customer. So you really need to get your salespeople on board with that. It's their duty to ask for the sale. It's their duty to, I say press. I don't mean obnoxious hard selling. I mean to just be persistent, polite persistence, asking and asking and asking, and using multiple questions and not giving up until you know, hey, okay, this isn't going to happen today. What's the next step that I can do to get a commitment? And that may be dropping down to the next level, which is gathering their contact information and asking the question, hey, how would you like me to follow up with you? When would you like me to follow up with you? Asking those two questions are a great way to kind of drop down, get their contact information, and depending on what they say, could depend on how you react. Maybe you call them even during the show again and give one more opportunity, or maybe you follow up them right after the show, but you take that next step down to gather a quality lead. Okay, so the first mindset piece is that confidence to ask for the sale and know it's your duty to ask for the sale on a persistent basis. Now, I had my no sales pressure guarantee, and yet even when I switched to that persistence factor, the first thing that happened is my sales shot up. So the first thing that happened was I saw a significant increase in my boat show sales because I was more persistent. I saw a significant increase in my conversion rate when I was in front of me. And a lot of it had to strictly do with asking and the confidence in the way I asked, that I knew I was 100% solid in my conviction that buying that boat from me on that day was a smart decision. And that confidence helped increase my results. But when it goes to generating the lead, if you don't get the sale, or if at some point the sale gets shut down and maybe you get to those trial closing questions and you get no's there, as a salesperson, you have to have the belief and the mindset that, well, I didn't make that sale, but I can make the next best sale, and that is to gather their contact information. And gathering that contact information is simple as, hey, we're going to have an event. We're not really sure when it's going to be, but we're going to have an in-water show, or we're going to have a boat show at the dealership, or we're going to have some type of event, or I'm going to send you some information. So I can do that. Let me get your email address. Let me get your address. Let me get your phone number. What's the spelling of your name? And you gather that contact information. Now that's the quality leads that as a salesperson, you're responsible for. As a salesperson, you're responsible for the quality leads. Anybody that you have more than a 3 to 5 minute conversation with, you should be capturing their contact information. When I was working boat shows over and over, day after day, I would generate the most leads from a salesperson, because if I talk to you, I asked for your name and email address and phone number. It was just, that's what I did, because I knew the educational spectrum of a boat buyer was the truth. I knew that was reality, that it takes people from, hey, honey, we should buy a boat. They go to the boat show in their research stage, they start evaluating, and they become now buyers. Well, they may be in the research stage at the boat show, but they're not ready to buy for another couple of weeks or a couple of months or a couple of years. And so I would gather everybody's contact information, because I knew I could put them into the 24/7 selling machine, and they would eventually churn out a highly qualified, pre-positioned, less price sensitive boat buyer that would call me up on the phone, walk into the dealership, or email me at some point. And that happened over and over and over. So that's the second mindset piece is, hey, don't just give up. If you spend any quality time with a person, especially at the boat show, you have to capture their contact information. As a dealership owner or general manager, if I saw somebody that spent 5 minutes with a person and I came up to them and I said, hey, what was their name and email address, and they didn't have it, I would say, you're not doing your job. You are not doing your job. If you are going to spend time with people at a dealership, but especially at the boat show, ask for their contact information. Now, they may say no, they may not give it to you, but if you ask in the right way, 95% of the time they'll give it to you. That's just, if you're helpful, if you're polite and you ask in the right way, they're going to give it to you. And that right way is give them a reason why. What's the value for them to give you your contact information? And the value can't be so you can hound them and just be all over them to that next week. Are you ready to buy a boat today? Hey, are you ready to buy a boat today? Do you want to buy a boat today? You can't do that, but you have to be, you have to ask and give them a reason that's a benefit to them. So like I said, something along the lines of, hey, so I can invite you to our in-water event in our demo days. Let me get your information. I'll make sure you get invited when we have that scheduled. What's your phone number? Great. What's your best email address? Oh, perfect. Hey, where do you live? Let me get your address, and I'll send you out a magazine that we do that I think you'll find valuable. Now, why wouldn't they give it to you? They've spent $10 to come to the boat show. They spent another $12 for parking. Why wouldn't they give you their email address so they can go to a demo day? They clearly have some interest. So that's the quantity or the quality of leads that should be generated. And the mindset is you got to ask. And it's real easy. The asking part is real simple. Get it down on a note card or in your notepad or whatever your method is, and then make sure it gets into your CRM for your 24/7 selling machine. The next mindset, which more of a strategy, but it's the mindset of the dealership culture, that generating leads is powerful. Generating leads is what I call future money in the bank. Generating a lead today is like generating a sale in the future when you have a 24/7 selling machine. So all those people that spent money to go to the boat show and spent their Saturday, Sunday afternoon at the show, all those people are potentially buyers for you. Now, you can do a little bit of qualifying, but be real loose on your qualifying. And with that, I mean, the way to generate the leads is just what I call a lead generation station. And that's just having a giveaway, having a drawing for something that's of value to your clients. So don't offer an iPad, because that's going to bring in everybody, but offer something that is a fit for your type of boat buyers if you're a more specialized dealership. Now, if you offer everything, offer an iPad, that's fine. But if you offer just towboats, offer a surfboard. If you offer just fishing boats, offer something that's going to be geared towards fishing, whether it's fishing gear, whether it's electronics, whether it's a trip with a guide that you can get for real inexpensive or even free. If you offer them a boat or some other relationship that you have with them, use those types of things to bring in the more qualified people, but then offer it to everybody. Anybody that walks through your booth that doesn't have a meaningful conversation, or even if they start a conversation and it quickly is determined that they're not somebody that it makes sense to spend good quality time with at the boat show, then send them over to your lead generation station and say, hey, Bob, I've enjoyed talking with you. If there's any questions I can answer for you, I'll be over there. I've got another client I've got to go talk to, but why don't you go see Susie over at the stand right there? And we're giving away a free wake surfboard. All you got to do is put in some information, and you might just win that surfboard. And then you turn them over to generate a lead. Everybody that walks through your booth or by your booth, they should be getting that same type of presentation from anybody that greets. Hey, welcome to ABC booth. What brings you to the show today? Whatever the conversation is. And if it's we're just looking or something like that doesn't show themselves to be a person that you should spend significant time with, or that you should filter to a salesperson, then just talk to them. Say, hey, we've got this free surfboard we're giving away. We're giving away this free fishing expedition. We're giving away this iPad. We're giving away whatever it is that fits your dealership. Let me get you to fill this out. Fill it out on a tablet. Go old school, paper and pen. And generate those quality leads. Now, you can't just stop there. To make this really work, you've got to have your 24/7 selling machine in place. That means autoresponders. That means relationship easings and boat previews. That means a follow-up system to invite them to events and have systematic events and have other ways to communicate with them other than just, blasting out an email every time you get a new used boat in, or every time you have a sales message. You're going to get opt-outs, and it's not going to be nearly as effective as it could be or should be if you just do what 90% of dealers out there do, which is send a pretty HTML email that talks about their rebates, that talks about their next sales promotion, and it's 100% sales focused. You've got to put some more relationship building information in there. So that's the three mindsets that really, as the boat show season rolls around, and even it works for the rest of the season as well, but ask for the sale, have a just a rock solid belief that buying a boat from you, if they qualify, if you found the right boat, and if you've had good, meaningful conversations and it's the right decision, have the conviction to ask. If you don't get the sale, make the next best sale, which is gather their contact information, put them in your 24/7 selling machine, and then go for the quantity, which is just, hey, get as many names and email addresses and phone numbers and addresses as you can, and so that you can put those into the 24/7 selling machine, knowing that they won't be as highly probable. So your conversion on those won't be as high, but they're people that you would have missed anyway. They're people that don't want to stop and talk to a salesperson. They're the people that when they're on a boat flipping through the cushions, that you introduce yourself and they say just looking and jump right off the boat, when they were showing all the signs of being somebody that was interested, and you could probably add some value. Some people just hate talking to salespeople and don't like you. Great, give them an opportunity to still give their contact information so that you can invite them and you can communicate and persuade them in a way that will be effective for those types of personalities. So those are the three things that I would love to hear what you're doing, how you put these into effect at your boat show, and how they work for you as well. So that is the boat show edition of the Boat Dealer Profits podcast. I hope there was something that piqued your your curiosity of, hey, we're going to do that. Oh, this is something I can talk to my team about. That mindset piece, it's so very important. And it's not something that a lot of people put a lot of effort or thought or even think about because we're so busy. But I encourage you. It is one of the things can have a major impact on your results. So it did for me. I cannot thank Jeff enough for just coming right out and saying you do a lot of great stuff, but if you don't ask for the sale, you're not going to make a sale. And getting me on the right track there on my boat career. So there you go. I appreciate you joining us for another episode of the Boat Dealer Profits podcast. Join us in a couple of weeks. We will have another brand new episode for you. Go back and listen to some of the older episodes. Some of the guests that were at MDCE, Marcus Sheridan, Samantha Scott, Meryl Shaw. We had some great people on that you may get additional value from if you went to their sessions or if you missed their sessions. The podcast is a great way to go back and get that. You can go to boatdealerprofits.com/podcast. And you can find those. If you want to continue the conversation, if you want to, take a look into, hey, what's the splash system of this 24/7 selling machine? And, we've tried it on our own. We just haven't got there, or the season's getting into full swing and we need to get this in place before the season's upon us. Just send me an email, matt@boatdealerprofits.com, and just put splash in the subject line. And I'll have somebody reach out to you to schedule a call. We'll do a strategy session. We'll talk about it. See if or how the splash system would fit into your dealership, and take it from there. See if there's a good fit. You can also go check out one of the webinars that has some more information on the splash system. You can go to boatdealerprofits.com/webinar, and would love to have you join us there. And so go ahead and check those out. A lot of information on the website, boatdealerprofits.com. You can go, whether you're a dealer, a broker, or a manufacturer, just click on the badge that is you, and it'll take you into a more specific area of the website that can help you with the information that you need. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.